Hello, I'm ABX2Cat and welcome back to another second channel video. Today I have another YouTube behind the scenes video. These are videos where I talk about some of the stuff about YouTube which isn't necessarily obvious as a viewer, but is kind of interesting, and that I know if there was an alternate universe me that wasn't a YouTuber, I'd want to watch these videos, so that's why I'm making them. So yeah, learn some stuff about YouTube you might not already know, and if you are a small/medium-sized YouTuber, this one will be particularly useful for you because I'm going to be talking about MCNs. MCNs, or multi-channel networks, that's what MCN stands for. MCNs are, kind of a big concept on YouTube that you will run across at some point. They will lie about what they do, and if you try to find anything about what they really do, it's shrouded in mystery. You'll get a bunch of different opinions, but you won't get any facts. So this is the closest thing that I can try and give you when it comes to facts. So hopefully you can get some good advice in here, and that's that. So let's start by talking about the core idea of what a network is, because again, if you're not familiar with YouTube at all, you're just like, what are these network concepts, and why are they so shady, and why am I picturing like a big shadow man right now? Basically, a network is a big grouping of channels, like let's say hundreds of channels, sometimes thousands of channels or tens of thousands of channels, and basically the idea of having tens of thousands of channels under the same umbrella gives you some big advantages. The first one is that because you're a big network, YouTube will have a direct contact to you. If any of your channels go down, they get the advantage of, they come straight to you, you go straight to YouTube, there's a direct line there. Whereas YouTube doesn't so much have the link. I mean, they're trying to improve that, but they never really had the link directly to their partners. So that's one advantage. The second advantage is they, in theory, can sell ads across that entire base, because if they're focused on a specific thing, so if there is a gaming network, then they can focus all the ads, because the audience will be roughly the same, so they can sell ads across the entire network and make money that way. They're the two theoretical uses. It's not so much that way, but let's start talking about the history and explain why everything's so convoluted and why there isn't any definites. It's all like, yeah, kind of. Also, the reason they do it is in exchange for a percentage cut of what you make, and it's usually a pretty substantial cut. Anyway, let's start talking about the history of this whole thing, because back when the YouTube Partnership Program started in 2007, it used to be for very exclusive channels. It was literally double-digit channels when it started. Now it's over 1 million, so that's tens of thousands of growth over the time. It used to be this super exclusive thing. If you're a YouTube partner, it was a really big deal, and that was 2007. In 2008, they started slowly rolling it out to individual videos. If you got a video of over 1 million views or something like that, you'd get YouTube request a partnership for that one video of you, and that'd be that. So yeah, it used to be this very kind of specialized program where, because like I said, they were the first people to start paying people, so they started to roll it out very slowly. But then one of the really interesting things is one of the channels they rolled it out to was Machinima, and the reason this is so interesting is because Machinima was the only, or one of the very few I should say, gaming channels on YouTube that could monetize their gameplay content. If you don't know, back in the early days of the partner program, there were really much stricter rules on what you could monetize, and basically you couldn't monetize gameplay unless you had explicit written permission from the developers, and only Machinima had gone through the effort of obtaining that. So why is it relevant that Machinima, the YouTube channel, had obtained this permission? Well, obviously, they started allowing people to post on their channel, they'd vet it because they had the permission, and then they could pay the creators for the views, they'd make money, the creator would make money, it'd be all gravy for everyone, right? And yeah, that was that at first from 2008, 2009, etc. But then they started to get the ability from YouTube to roll out their partnership to other channels. So obviously, the upside of this is other channels could have a partnership with Machinima and gain their benefits. And the downside of Machinima was if they do anything wrong, it's Machinima's, arsenal line basically. So that's that right there. They started to be able to expand their partnership, so they did. It started with, I think there was originally 4 channels, but then they started expanding massively, and I believe, the height of their channel thing, they had tens of thousands of channels under their single partnership. And what this means is every single, ad that's played in any channel goes straight to Machinima's AdSense account. So if you think about the numbers, it's got to be pretty insane. But basically, yeah, interesting enough, they actually shaped the entire network industry for a very long time, because instead of paying people a percentage of what they made, they paid people a flat $2 rate. So this was on all views at first, then it became monetizable views as those went down. But yeah, every 1,000 views you get in your channel, you get $2 from Machinima. And it was a really simple pay structure that kind of just worked at first. It meant that if you wanted to negotiate, you just negotiated up to $3. I know for a fact that some people went up to $4. That's the most I've seen publicly said. But yeah, basically you could, some people negotiate higher, but the general flat rate was $2 across all channels. So that was that for a while. Then the Game Station came around, and the Game Station started doing a percent cut, but they never really got quite so big as Machinima. So bear in mind, they are a key kind of competition part of this, but they didn't really get so big. They had a few kind of reasonably sized channels, but it was usually the market share was 90% Machinima, 10% the Game Station kind of thing. And they're now named Polaris, so that says a lot about how that went. Anyway, so why is all of this relevant to the current present? So like I said, that shaped the whole thing for a while, but what actually ended up happening is lots of other networks started joining the YouTube space. So obviously, Machinima is making such big money because at $2 per 1,000 views, if they're playing ads on them, which at the time they probably would be, Machinima were making a lot of money. That'd be equivalent to maybe like a 50-50 or like a 25% contract by today's standards. Like amazing margins for Machinima at some point. They were just hiring people left and right. They were doing all this crazy stuff, which is why they had to stop that when they started going more reasonable contracts. But they also did something terrible known as perpetuity contracts. So perpetuity contracts are literally not legal in the US state they were written in. So they started phasing them out, making 7-year contracts, which is super harsh by YouTube standards. And yeah, basically for the longest time, you signed up for Machinima, you got screwed, and that was that. But then, like I said, other networks started getting in the network game, and there was, the first ones were like full screen, and networks just got coming over and over again. Like, there was a big network rush. I very almost signed up for one of these terrible networks, and I know Brethren, a YouTube friend of mine, he actually signed up for a terrible network, and now 70% of his YouTube earnings go somewhere else, and there's nothing he can do about it. And yeah, I almost signed up for one of those 7-year deals on a like 60-40 basis. I at the last minute offering the contract, I didn't, but my whole YouTube channel could have been nothing if I'd have signed this deal, and that is such a terrifying idea, right? So yeah, that's that right there. Anyway, let's get into the advice stage. I think that's most of the history. Nowadays, there's so many networks to choose from. Most networks will let you in on a small standard, like you need maybe 30,000 views a month, which admittedly that's still a lot to get for a new channel, but it's at the level where it's still well before the level where it's a substantial amount of money lost. So that's what I'm trying to say there. But let's talk about what you should look for in an MCN and what an MCN actually does for you today. So yeah, basically an MCN today really only does one thing, and that's YouTube protection, and even then it kind of barely does that. And because the thing is you know, over time, the things that MCNs start to sell you just started eroding. So the fact that Machinima was the only people that could have games on, that started eroding. I'm doing a weird thing here, but game producers started, you know, having less and less, like, you know, they stopped being so strict about it. They just let anyone upload it. Then, you know, they had two things. Then the kind of unique ad thing. Most networks don't sell unique ads anymore. Like, it was so much effort and it was barely breaking even. So now they usually just use filler Google ads. Most of them anyway will, some of them will admit to doing it, some of them won't. And then finally, there's the YouTube support thing. Like I said, YouTube are almost giving you direct support now, so you kind of don't need them for that. So yeah, for the most part now it's all about the other benefits they bring, and they take a % cut for this. So if you are a small YouTuber right now, what I would recommend is probably, okay, so again, I'm going to quickly just state my biases. I am signed with a network right now. This isn't some weird way to reverse psychology into it. I've spoken to a lot of networks. I don't like a lot of them. I do like some of them. But I will say, most networks are not worth your time. If you're a small YouTuber, stay with the YouTube partnership program until you get a network offer that is genuinely appealing to you. That is the first thing you need to make sure you look out for. Don't sign with Machinima because you think that's cool. Again, one of the Minecraft console guys from back in the day, he literally broke his contract and signed a 7-year deal with Machinima, and he's stuck there now. And it's one of those things. Don't sign with a network because it makes you sound cool. You're paying a lot of money, in his case, 20% of his money for 7 years. Just to have that Machinima name. That's a lot to give up. Second of all, if you're going to sign up for a network, don't sign a terrible deal. So, again, I've made some terrible mistakes over my time. I think, luckily, my very first partnership, which was with, Social Blade, or RPM Studios. It was Maker Studios, but it was like the super low-end end of it. They took 40% for an entire year. I think I recently added up that, and it's like, I mean, it's not an amazing amount, but it's still like they just took that. What did they give me? I didn't email them like once in that year. They just took 40% of my money and just. Yeah, that was that at first. Because at that time you couldn't get into a partnership program. Nowadays though, you upload one video, you're in the partnership program of YouTube. You don't need to be of a network because they're just going to take some of that same money you could be earning otherwise. So if you're going to sign with a network, make sure the deal is at least 80-20. At the very least, if they're offering something amazing, and anything above that, you've got to do like a calculation in your head. Work out how much you're making a month, take out how much they're taking. Because bear in mind, this is after Google already takes their 45% cut, and yeah, you need to work out what's going on there, because otherwise, let's just say that you might lose a lot of stuff there. So yeah, pro tips for networks: short contract, maximum a year. Make sure that they're not taking too much money off you. It's not normal for them to take 40%. They're not going to increase your CPMs enough to take 40%, or even 30%, I'd say. Maybe, yeah, I'd say 20% is the max of what's even possible, and even then you need a good reason. Finally, try and get something more out of them than just the usual sales of will sell ads on your channel, will give YouTube support. Because those things are handy, but they're not 10% of whatever you make forever handy. So, yeah, that's YouTube multi-channel networks. They're kind of a screwy situation where A lot of them exist and they do their own things. To give you my opinions on the current ones, again, I'll admit I'm biased. I'm signed with Omnia Media. Curse are pretty good guys because they only, they only take 10% and they have the same contract for most of their channels. Machinima are, apparently their new management team's pretty good. I have a grudge against them. Full Screen, again, they've been having lots of hacks recently. Maker Studios, okay, okay, this is the final tip before we go. Some networks will genuinely sell you on, like, after-event parties, because they Maker Studios or Polaris actually have parties only for Maker Studios partners after events, and lots of people genuinely sign up for them because of these parties. This is a terrible business decision. Do not sign away 30% of your channel's earnings to go to a party. That should be obvious, but now it's in a video. So that's everything about networks. Particularly right now, stay with YouTube 99% of the time. If you're doing games that are often getting claimed, do that. If you're doing Minecraft, your network can barely help you. So, I mean, yeah, a network will barely help you unless they give you something express. And again, you're going to have to speak to lots of networks. And again, you're going to be able to a certain size there. So, yeah, that's everything about multi-channel networks. I recently had to go through the process of signing again. It's like a whole commitment you've got to work out. Where it's like signing up for a bank account, except it's a bank account that takes money from you. Hopefully that's enough about MCNs for today. Hope you all enjoyed it. Second channel, don't care. Goodbye.